Are you able to see my screen? Yes, no?
Sir.
Okay then. Let's quickly jump into the topic. In the last class, we have completed about what is constructor chaining, right? And we have also completed about the importance of this keyword and the super keyword. So there is a lot of difference between. By now, you got to know, the areas where you can use this keyword and super keyword, and the areas where you can use this constructor call and super constructor call. Right? So just having said this, I want you to answer this question to me, right? So there was a interview question which was asked. So this is interview question. So just try to help me with the answer. If I execute this code, what kind of output I can see in the console? Just try to check this out once. With the knowledge that we have gathered till now, and try to answer this question. So it is not like I'm asking something new out of the box. We have discussed these things. Try to think better and answer this question. What kind of output you can expect to see in the console?
Beacon output.
Beacon, huh? So, okay, even everyone thinks the same way, right? By looking at the code, everyone thinks the output is going to be beacon. So this is a typical error that you're going to get. If you apply everything that I have mentioned, right, you are going to get the actual answer. So this is the error. We get compile time error. Why we are getting compile time error? Very simple. Let me copy this code. Okay. So always carry pen and paper with you, right? The moment I give this piece of code, first always try to place the things that will be placed by the compiler. What are the essential things that will be placed by the compiler before compilation, right? So every class will be treated as a default class, isn't it? Let me change the color. Every class will be treated like a default class. So default class, and class B is not extending from any other class. So by default, it is going to get extended to the object class. By default, the class B is going to get extended to the object class. And so we have placed a constructor already, right? So this is the user defined constructor. Even the same access modifier is applicable for the user defined constructor as well. The constructor, the access modifier that you have specified for the class will be applied for the constructor as well. So no doubt still now, right? And the first line inside the constructor is going to be what? It is going to be the super keyword, right? Super keyword will be placed by the constructor. So things are going good so far. And if you see the class A, and again the class A is going to get the default keyword. By definition, it is going to be a default class. And since the developer has not defined any constructor, so the compiler will place a constructor, right? So this is the default constructor that will be placed by the compiler. One thing. The second thing is, it is going to be, the access modifier is going to be same as the access modifier of the class default, and it will add the super keyword, right? Will add the super keyword. These are the things that I have mentioned in red in color. These are the things that will be done by the compiler. Okay. Now what is happening? You are just creating an object for the class here, right? The object will be created. So because of the new keyword, an object will be created in the memory area. After the object creation, the control will be transferred to call the A constructor, right? So what is A constructor? This is the A constructor. So what is the first line inside the A constructor? Super call. Super means replace the super keyword with the super class. So B is the super class of A, right? So super keyword will be replaced with the super class of, super class of A. So B is the super class of A, right? So B constructor call is up, isn't it? From here, the control will try to find the B constructor call in the parent class. But in the parent class, there is no B constructor call with no arguments. Are you seeing any arguments which is there placed inside the class B? You have a constructor. So this constructor is a constructor which is accepting one integer argument. But there is no constructor which is not accepting any argument. So this constructor has not been defined, isn't it? That's why it is saying what it is saying. It is saying the error like actual and the formal argument lists differ in length. Okay, the actual argument is it is looking for a with B no argument constructor. It is looking for a B constructor which is just no arguments. But what is the actual constructor that is placed here? There is a constructor that is accepting an argument, like something like it. So it is not able to find this one. So that is the reason we are getting this. Able to say. So in order to avoid this error, always ensure that okay, the moment you are calling creating an object, and if you see any relationship between two classes like child and the parent relationship, please ensure that okay, it's your responsibility to place a default constructor, or it is a good programming practice. Okay? Always place a default constructor proactively. Always place a default constructor proactively, even for the class A, right? I mean, if you're not defining any other constructor, no issues. But if you're defining a constructor with any other argument, always make sure that you are also defining a default constructor to avoid this kind of errors in the future, right? But if you're not using this, it is not required. If you're not using this constructor, these things are not required. Since you're using this constructor, there are high chances that your subclass is going to make a constructor call which will be looking for this no argument constructor. If you're not placing this, definitely this kind of situation we have to face, like compile time error. Making sense, everyone? Yes, no? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Understood the tracing, no? Very simple. Just try to trace it by yourself. You'll get this. Today's topic is the copy constructors. Most important constructor, copy constructor. Yes, copy constructor. So what is a copy constructor? So it is very simple. Whenever we pass the object reference to the constructor, to the another constructor. Whenever we pass the object reference to the another constructor, it is called as what? It is simply called as copy constructor. So now this is not going to make any sense. Let me help you with a small code to understand this better. I'm going to give the justification for this particular line. 1 minute, guys. Yes. Let me remove this. Let me also remove this, not required. I'm taking a class like the person class. Focus here, guys. I have a class like person class. The name of the class is person itself. And my person class is going to have two instance variables. So let me take the first instance variable as string type, string name. Let me take the second instance variable as the integer age. So my person class has two instance variables, string as well as the integer type. Now see what will happen. And also I want to define my own. Okay, let me create an object. Person p1 equal to new person. Now what I want to do, I want to assign the values to these instance variables at the time of object creation itself. So what did I just say? I can just pass the values directly. I can pass something like Balaji here. I can pass something like age here, right? So since you are passing some values inside the constructor, isn't it? Which is taking two values, Balaji as well as the age. So it is like string comma integer. So you should place a constructor. You should place a constructor in the class which is going to accept what? Which is going to accept the two values. First value is in the form of what? String. Okay. You can keep any meaningful variable name. I am taking the variable name as name itself. What is the second value? Second value is in the form of integer, right? So let me take integer. I am taking age. Right? So when you take a constructor and if you want to pass values, so that the values in the instance variables will be assigned directly, right? So this is how we can do. Okay, I have simply defined a constructor. So inside this constructor, I just want to place a statement like system.out.println. Okay, so let me execute like er person. Now see what is happening. If I execute this code simply, java c space a dot java. I'm sorry, the name of the class is person is name of the class is person. Let me change the file name as person.java. File save as. Let me change it to person.java. Person dot. Okay, let me perform the compilation. Java C space person dot java. Color is very slow. Java C space person dot java. Okay, Java space. You are getting the output as person call. So my intention is I want to assign the values to the instance variables at the time of constructor call. So this code is going to do few things, okay, which is not meeting our expectations. So I want to do something, but this code is doing some other thing. So if I take this piece of code, my intention is, right, so object is going to get created, isn't it? Because of the new keyword, an object is going to get created. And also this object is going to allocate memory for the instance variables. You have name variable and you have age variable. Firstly, the default values will be assigned. Okay, the default value for string is null, default value for integer is 0. These things will be done, right? And this is going to be what? Is going to get a kind of the reference value, some kind of the hash code, I mean what we call it as hexadecimal number followed by the class name followed by some hexadecimal number. Let me take a random number like this, right? So there will be a stack area. So this is the heap area and there will be a stack area. Inside the stack area, okay, there is a kind of a key value pair. The key is going to be the reference variable, ref variable. Okay, and the value is going to be what? And there is another thing like reference value. Ref variable, reference value, right? So reference variable is going to be p1. This p1 is going to store the reference value. Is what? This one. These things are generated by the JVM. Okay, you do not have to worry about all these things. These things are generated. Just try to understand the control, right? This reference value is assigned to p1. If you call p1, this reference value will be printed. The moment you try to call p1, this reference value is not at all correct. I am just taking a random number just for the better understanding. Okay. Now my intention is I want to assign values. I want to assign values to the instance variables. So for example, Balaji has to be, Balaji will be transferred to this constructor, isn't it? Balaji will be transferred to this constructor, right? And also 20, number 20 will be transferred to this variable. I can say that name variable, I can say that age variable. So details are getting transmitted to the constructor, right? So I can call these variables as the local variables, isn't it? These variables are local variables because they are not part of the class. They are part of some other block. In our case, it is a constructor. So local variables. And I have another variables. Okay, I also have the class level variables or instance variables, I can say. The variables that are not part of any method or any block, it is inside the class but outside the method or constructor, whatever it is, they are called as what? Class level variables. But if you make one observation, in variable names are same, right? So here you are using the name variable, here also you are using the name variable, here you are using the age variable, here also you are using the same age variable. You want to transfer this Balaji and 20 to the class level variable. So it is just like, right? I am just let me remove this, not it. I'm collecting name. I'm collecting name. So name is collected, okay, and age is also collected. The data, this is called as local variable. I want to transfer this to the class level variable. This is the class level variable. I told you in the extra days class, right? If you remember the last class, you can use this keyword. When you say this dot name and when you say this dot age, what does it mean? You receive Balaji here. receive Balaji. This Balaji will be transmitted to the class level variable. So the data in the Balaji will be assigned to the variable which is of class level, and you receive age which is in 20, right? So this 20 will be collected. It will be assigned to the age variable itself of what? This dot age. This dot age means the age that is placed inside the variable that is placed inside the class level. Why we are doing this? Because the name of the variables are same in the class level as well as in the local level. So there should be a kind of differentiation, right? So when I do this, when I say this dot name means this dot name is referring to the class level variable name. This dot age is referring to the class level variable name. You are collecting as a local and you are transmitting to the data to the class level. This kind of change, okay, I have added two lines. Okay, this two lines is going to do what? It's going to assign. Okay, let me. The moment I start adding these two lines, okay, my name becomes Balaji. Null will be replaced with Balaji. Okay, and age will be replaced with what? Age will be replaced with 20. Age will be replaced with 20. Okay, so far so good. Okay, now if you see, after this, when I try to print the reference variable, system dot out dot println, if I just try to print the reference variable, which is p1 here, p1 is my reference variable, right? Now, when I try to do so, I am not going to get the thing that I have actually required, that I am actually looking for. Let's see the output first. Why this is being so slow? A minute. You open this. Wait for some time. It's taking a lot of time for the execution. Meanwhile, let me open another command prompt. Yes. Java space pause. Okay, you are just reference value is getting printed. Person at the rate some kind of garbage value is printed. But I want to print the meaningful information. Okay, if I want to print the meaningful information, because internally p1 is a reference variable of person object. So internally the compiler will call the toString method. The compiler will call the toString method upon this reference variable. So these are the internal things we have discussed. These things already we have discussed these things. Internally toString method will be called, right? So this toString method is part of object class. So person class is going to extend to the object class. So definitely this toString method is part of what class? Object class. So compiler will add this to the object class, part of object class. But I want to trick the main thread to execute the toString, our own user defined toString. So what I can do, I can write my own toString method here, like public return type history toString. Right, inside this I will be just returning the instance variables that has been stored in the object, which is what? Name plus age. Now this will ensure that, okay, now if I try to print the reference variable which is p1, now toString method will be called. That toString method I have already defined in my current class. So it is going to return the name and the age. Name that has been stored in the object, which is what? Balaji. Age that has been stored in the object, which is what? 20. That will be displayed on the console if I try to execute this now. Let me do that in the new command prompt. Let's see. cd space java 2 java c space person dot, and this is all. One minute. Java space pause. I did not save this, I think. Let me save this. Java c space person dot java. Let me save Java space button %of Java. This person. Okay, you are getting Balaji 20, the meaningful output. Why the meaningful output is coming now? You have defined your own toString method in the current class. So now the control will be transferred to the toString method. It will call the value inside the name variable, the value that has been stored in the age variable. So these things are clear so far. Now we are trying to understand the copy constructor. Now I want to do a small thing. Okay, let me create an object like, I want to create an object like person P2. This time I do not want to use a new keyword. Instead of using the new keyword, I want to take the reference variable of this object, which is P1. I want to assign the P1 to the P2. I want to assign what? I want to assign the P1 to the P2. We might be thinking that, okay, this is a kind of copy constructor. It's not a copy constructor, but this is going to be an advantage for certain situations. Okay, what kind of situations is there? For example, let me take a real-time analogy. So I want to, for example, let us say that there is an exam, okay? Let's say that Sudhir and Balaji. So Sudhir is having a Java book. Sudhir is having a Java book. He has exams tomorrow. Just an assumption. And Sudhir exam is scheduled to be in the next week. But Balaji is trying to take his Java exams tomorrow. And he's going to borrow the book from Sudhir. Going to borrow the Java book from Sudhir. Balaji is going to borrow the Java book from Sudhir. What Balaji is trying to do? Balaji studies some chapters and he is going to do some highlights. Okay, he is going to highlight the important points. He has highlighted important points and he has given his exam, right? And he has written the book to Sudhir. And if you see, Balaji has did some highlights here. He has highlighted some lines. Some lines has been highlighted. Some important points has been highlighted. Even Sudhir can see see the things that has been highlighted by Balaji. And Sudhir is writing his exam next week, and he's studying this book, and he is also performing some kind of highlighting. He's highlighting his own important points. Right? So the books are being shared between two persons, Sudhir and Balaji. They are sharing the same book. But the problem here is when they share the same book, whatever the important points that has been highlighted by Sudhir will be seen by Balaji, and whatever the important points that has been highlighted by Balaji will be seen by Sudhir. I can also say that the changes that has been done by Sudhir will be seen by Balaji. The changes that has been done by Balaji will be seen by Sudhir because both are sharing the same book. So if they change, that will be reflected, that will be seen by another person. If he change, that will be seen by this person. Okay, same analogy he will be applied for this particular kind of code. How I can transfer that analogy to this Java programming? If you observe this, let me copy this code. Let me paste it here. Let me paste it here. Remove this. The same kind of analogy. Now observe here. Now see, main thread starts and main execution will start from the main method, right? And there is a new keyword, isn't it? So new keyword, and it is going to firstly the default value will be stored. Any point of time, default values will be stored first for the name variable, the age variable. So default value is null for the name variable because it is a string type, and default value for age is going to be 0. After this, you are transmitting the data to the constructor. Okay, Balaji is being transmitted and 20 is being transmitted. Balaji, 20. This data is being transmitted, and the respective constructor that is accepting two values will be called. Okay, this is the respective constructor, right? So this Balaji 20 will be settling here, and this will be assigned to the instance variables. So in the memory level, null will be replaced with Balaji, and 20 will be replaced for the age. Right? This is going to get a reference value like, okay, person @ something, some kind of garbage value. Let me take something like this. Right? And in the stack area, and if you consider the stack area, so you have the reference variable which is P1, which has a reference value. This is a reference value. right? And second, okay, these are the things that will be done the moment you start executing. So these are things that will be done in the memory level. So this is reference variable, and this is going to be what? This is going to be reference value. So far good. Now let us come back to the second line. Come back to the same. You are saying that you are assigning P1. You are assigning P1. So this is the P1 to the P2. Indirectly, you are asking the P2 to use the P1 object. You are asking the P2. P2 is the new reference variable. Okay. What you are saying? You are asking the P2. So there will be a reference variable P2. You are asking the P2 to use the P1 reference value, which is what? This P1 reference value will also be assigned to the P2 itself. So this is not copying, this is not getting copied. What does it really mean is P1 and P2 both are sharing the same memory area. You see, both are sharing the same memory area. Both are what? Both are sharing the same memory area. Now you see, now let us try to understand. If you want the proof, I can also show you the proof. Let me try to print the reference variables of both. System.out.println. Okay. System.out.println. I want to print the reference value of P1, reference value of P2. Okay, let me remove the toString method so that you will see whether they both are pointing to the same address or not. Okay. Java C space person.java. Java space person. If you see, can you see that both are having the same reference values? So what does it really mean? Both the reference variables are pointing to the same output. They are sharing the same address. So this is ideal proof that both are sharing the same address. So during my tracking, I have taken some other value. Don't worry about that. Okay, but look at the output. Both have the same values, which means both are sharing the same memory. So this is ideal proof, right? Now see. The moment I start making the changes, I've added the toString method here. I just want to change. I want to say like, okay, let me say like system.out.println. Okay, let me print P1. Okay, let me print P2. If I print the values by using these toString method, Java C space person.java, Java space person, you will be getting the same values because they are stored in the memory, right? Now what I want to do, I want to do a small change, like I want to say P1 dot name equal to, instead of Balaji, I am taking Sudhir. Okay, I am saying P2 dot name equal to, age equal to, I am taking something like 22. Right? These two things, not P1, not P2, P1. These two things, I am making these changes by using the reference variable of P1 object. I'm making these changes by using the reference variable of P1 object. So behind the memory, inside the memory, okay, P1 dot name. Okay, what is a P1? P1 has a reference value 12425, something like this, isn't it? So the Balaji will be changed to Sudhir, and age 20 will be changed to 22. So I have made changes by using the P1 reference variable. I have just used the P1 reference variables to make these changes. But the changes will also be applicable for P2 also. If you change P1, that will be reflected in P2 also, because P2 is also sharing the same object. Both P1 and P2 both are sharing the same object. If you make any changes by using the P1 reference variable, that will be reflected in P2. If you make any changes by using P2 reference variables, that will be reflected in P1. So this is a kind of advantage you think, but this is not an advantage. This is a kind of disadvantage. You do not want to do that. After making these changes, now let me print P1 and P2 once again. Okay. We have changed only by using the P1 reference variable, but the changes will be reflecting in the P2 reference variable also. Java C space person.java. You see, Sudhir 22, Sudhir 22. You have made changes by using P1. But changes are referring P2 also. Okay, let me make the changes by using P2 reference variable. Now I am saying P2.name, and I am saying P2.age. I am saying P2.name as Lakshmi. I am taking P2.age as something like 18. Okay, now if I print P1 and P2 once again, you made the changes by using P2 reference variable, but this is also applicable for P1 object also. It's like just like sharing the books. Sudhir and Balaji were sharing the Java books, no? So one changes, I mean, both are since both are sharing the same book. The things that is being highlighted by Balaji will be seen by Sudhir. The things that is highlighted by Sudhir will be seen by Balaji. Likewise, if you execute this code, Java C space person dot Java, Java space person. You see, no, Balaji is 20. You have changed the object values by using one reference variable, but it is also reflecting for other also. This is a kind of disadvantage. You cannot say that this is a copy constructor. My copy constructor should be like what? I want to have the independent changes. If I make changes on one by using one reference variable, that should not affect the second reference variable. If I make changes on second reference variable, that should not affect the first reference variable. How I can achieve that? So in the real-time example again, for example, so the analogy is like let me say that Monica is having examination Java, right? And Lakshmi wants to borrow the Java book from Monica. Right? What Monica is doing? Monica says Monica is not ready to give the book that she has. So instead, she is trying to take a Xerox copy and giving it to Lakshmi. Now, whatever the things that is highlighted by Lakshmi, okay, that is completely limited with Lakshmi itself. Okay, only she can see these changes. Whatever the changes that is, whatever the highlights that is being performed by Monica, okay, they are independent, right? So Monica can have the things highlighted in her book, and Lakshmi can have the things that is highlighted in her Xerox copy of book. So these changes will not affect here, and these changes will not reflect here. So this kind of concept is called as what? The copy constructors. You copy the values once the object is copied, right? You can make the changes independently. So what happens? Each time by using the copy constructor, you can able to create two independent objects. It is just like one if you creating a one independent object by using P1, you want to create P2 out of P1. A copy will be created. A copy will be created. So the memory will not be shared this time. Previously, the memory was shared. The same memory is being shared. This time, the copy of an object will be created, and the changes that you make is independent to each other. You can make your own changes in the P1 objects. You can make your own changes in the P2 objects. How we are going to achieve that? We will see that now. Are we good so far till now? Are you able to understand what I am trying to explain you? Yes, no? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, respond, guys. Yes. Now let us see this. Let us execute this. So what copy constructor says? Okay, if you go by the definition, it says what? Whenever we pass the object reference to another constructor. Remember this part. Whenever we pass the object reference to another constructor. Okay, let me delete all these things. Okay, let me delete all these things. Whenever we pass what? Whenever we pass the object reference to another constructor. Okay, new person. Whenever we pass object reference. So this is the reference of first constructor. Whenever you pass the reference of object to another constructor, you are passing the reference of first constructor to another constructor. You are just passing the reference. That is called as copy constructor. But you have to remember one thing here. You have to ensure one thing here. You are passing what reference? You are passing object reference. So this is a constructor, right? This is a constructor that is accepting two values. One is string type, second one is integer type. But this is a constructor that is accepting one value, which is of what type? Object reference of class type, person type. So you should place a constructor. Okay, you should, let me remove this. Not required. Let me remove this. It is not required. You should build a constructor in such a way that P1 is what? P1 is of what type? P1 is of the person type, class type. So in this constructor, it's very clear, no? Person constructor, you are passing string and you are passing an integer. So you have already defined such constructor, okay, which is accepting the name, accepting the age. So there is a matching constructor that has been placed in the person class. And second time, you are calling a constructor which is accepting the reference variable of an object, which is P1. P1 is of what? A person type. So you should build a constructor which is what? Which is accepting this reference variable. So in my case, I am passing P1. P1 is of what? A person type. So I should build a constructor which is accepting the person type. Making sense? I have just placed the matching. If you are not placing this, you will get an error. Because the main thread will look for a constructor that is accepting the reference variable which is of person type. The main thread will be looking for this constructor. So you haven't placed, you haven't defined that constructor. You will be getting an error. Now to avoid that error, you should place the constructor. You should build that constructor. Right? And this reference variable is what? This reference variable. You can fetch what? You can fetch the name by using this reference. Okay, let me system dot out dot print ln. Okay, system dot out dot print ln. By using this reference variable, you can fetch the name. By using this reference variable, you can fetch the age. Okay, now if I try to execute this piece of code, if I just try to do what? If I just try to execute this piece of code, now you see the output, right? Focus here. See, this is my code. Very simple. So first one is what? A constructor. An object will be created and there is a stack area. My stack area is going to have what? Two things. One is reference variable and second one is reference value, which is respect to class. Reference variable and reference value. Okay. And you are using what? First line of the main code, main thread is what? When first line inside the main method is what? The object creation p1 and a reference value will be generated, which is going to be what? Person at the rate 1 2 3 4. A kind of a garbage value I'm taking, hexadecimal number I'm taking. So this reference value will be assigned to this object. You can also say that this is the reference value for the reference variable, this object, right? And this is going to hold the name and the age. Beginning it is going to be null, okay, and after null will be changed to Balaji. At beginning it is going to be 0 default value, after that it is going to be changed. Okay, these are the things that is happening behind the scenes. So null will be replaced and 0 will be replaced. Right, now come back to the second line. What the second line says, you are calling a constructor, person constructor, which is accepting what? You are passing a reference variable p1 itself. Passing the reference variable p1 itself. Right? So it is going to look for a constructor that is accepting the reference variable person type itself. Right? Person variable. If you see this p1, with passing p1, you see this p1 has a reference value which has access to name as well as age, right? So you are just extracting by using this reference, by using this ref, you are extracting the name which is Balaji. So Balaji will be printed in the console. You are extracting what? You are extracting the age which is what? Which is 20. And also because of this new keyword, an object will be created. Okay, and this object is going to have name. The beginning the value is going to be null. Going to have age. The beginning the value is going to be 0. Okay, and this is going to have its equivalent reference variable, reference value, something like a different reference value. Person at the rate some different reference value. This reference value will be assigned to this new object. New object is what? Okay, so if you see this reference value as Balaji and 20, but this reference value as null and 0, because you are not transmitting the data to the instance variables, you are just taking that reference variable and extracting the name information and the age information. If I just execute this piece of code, you get to see something like Java C space person dot Java space person. You get Balaji and 20 because this data is getting extracted, right? P1, you are passing P1 here in the form of ref. Okay, you're using ref here. From the reference variable, you're extracting name. From the reference variable, you're extracting age. So that's why the name and age information has been printed. Name information, the age information, right? But I want to transmit data. So now if you see, try to print system dot out dot println. If I try to print P1, I will be getting Balaji 20. If I try to print P2, I will be getting what? Null default values. P2. Java C space person dot 1 minute. I'll be getting the default values. See, Balaji 20 null 0. Why null 0? If you go back, see the tracing, you are not transmitting the data to the instance variables. Okay, you are just trying to print the actual data. You are just extracting this name variable and the age variable from the existing reference variable, which is P1. From the existing reference variable, you are just trying to access the name variable, which is Balaji, and the age variable, which has a value 20. You are just extracting the data from the existing reference variable P1. But you are not setting the values. Okay, if you want to set the values, what you can do, okay, you collect the data. You collect the data from the existing reference. Okay, reference dot name, okay, reference dot age, extract the data and assign this to the instance variables equal to this dot name, this dot. The moment you do this, okay, now the name will be extracted and that will be assigned to the instance variable. Age will be extracted from the existing object, that will be assigned to the instance variables. Okay, these two things is going to do what? These two things is going to do what? Null will be replaced with Balaji, right? And age will be replaced with 20. So now you have successfully achieved the concept of copy constructor. You successfully achieved the concept of copy. How you have achieved? You are just passing the reference variable of another object as a parameter to another object, right? And you are building such constructor, okay, and you are extracting the value from the existing object and assigning to the instance variables by using this keyword. This will ensure that the details are copied correctly. Copying the values from one constructor to another constructor has been happened successfully. What is the proof? Just print this Java C space person.java. You will get Balaji 20, Balaji 20. And if you try to make any modifications, for example, I just want to do what? I want to say p1.name equal to, I want to manipulate, I want to change the values of p1 reference variable. Name should be changed to Lakshmi. Okay, secondly, p1.age has to be changed to 12. These changes are limited only to the p1 object. So these two things is going to do what? These two things is going to make changes with respect to the p1 object level. Okay. Now Balaji will be changed to Lakshmi. Balaji gets changed to what? Lakshmi. Right, and 12 will be, 20 will be replaced with 12. If you print P1, you get Lakshmi 12. If you print P2, you will get Balaji 20. What is approved? Let me print after making these changes. Let me print before making the changes. You will get the same values for both the objects. After making the changes, the changes will be reflected only for one object. Okay, let me execute this. Java C space person.java. Java space person. See, Balaji 20, Balaji 20, Balaji 20. This is P1, this is P2, right? And this is the changes are reflected only for the P1, but P2 it is not changed. The changes are not reflecting in P2. There is a lot of difference between the previous example and current example, isn't it? It's just like not sharing the same book to another person. Instead of sharing the same book, you are taking a Xerox copy of the book and sharing it to the other person. Okay, a Xerox copy will be created or a copy constructor will be created. A same copy will be created so that each and every copy will have the own independent changes. Right? What are the advantages of these copy constructors and where we are using this copy constructor? That we will understand the later part. Have you understand the concept of copy constructor? Is something that
Yes, sir.
understood? No? Like if you are finding it any difficulties, try to execute this code from your end one side. You will get these things very clear. Right? Now, if you see now, I think this is giving the justification. What is a copy constructor? Whenever we pass the object reference to another constructor, this is called as a copy constructor. So this is just a one-line definition. There are lot of things that we have to consider. There are a lot of advantages are there, some disadvantages there that we will see in the next classes, right? And also, give me 1 minute, guys. You got my charge now.